To southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good afternoon, I'm Will Puckett. Steve Hensley has the evening off. Well, the recovery of a missing Madison County teen continues for a third day on Lake Harrington. Officials say they are receiving more help from surrounding counties and even a group that came in from out of state with the specialized equipment. Anna Berniston talked with rescue crews and brings us the latest.
Emmanuel Pruitt and a group of friends were enjoying a swim at Harrington Lake on Wednesday before things turned tragic. After swimming across a part of the channel near Gwynn Island, all but Pruitt made it across. Pruitt's mother says Emmanuel was a strong swimmer and athletic. But according to Mike Wilder, the emergency manager for Boyle County, this lake can oftentimes be dangerous for swimmers.
When you get on this water without any type of protection, life preserver protection, it's very dangerous. The lake becomes the boss.
Now, Wilder tells me what makes this search and recovery so difficult is not only the depth and topography of the lake, but also all the debris that still remains in the lake since the dam was constructed back in the 1920s.
I've seen sonar film of ledges that you would think are getting close to a bottom, and then all of a sudden it'll drop off 70 feet.
Fortunately, now a new team of Mennonites from Tennessee have joined in on the search and recovery efforts with specialized tools that will help in this lake's environment.
They have very sophisticated equipment, sonar, some up-to-date sonar, underwater drones, those kind of things that can be of great service to us at this time.
Again, that was Adam Berniston reporting. Emmanuel Pruitt was getting ready for his senior year at Madison Central High School and played on their football team. Well, the Jefferson Davis statue will be leaving the Kentucky State Capitol. Today, a state panel voted overwhelmingly to move it. Crews arrived this morning, including a crane and wooden supports. Particle board was put down on the rotunda and metal supports in the basement to stabilize the floor. Then at 1 p.m., the Historic Properties Advisory Commission, called to a special meeting by Governor Andy Beshear, voted to move the statue to Davis's birthplace in Fairview, Kentucky. State officials say the statue will likely not be moved until sometime tomorrow. There has not been any decision on what or who will be put in its place. Well, protesters continue to occupy an area of Seattle where police have abandoned a precinct. In other cities, there's a movement to bring down offensive statues following the death of George Floyd while in police custody. CBS News correspondent Elise Preston has the day's developments from New York.
This is the mic for all people.
Protesters spoke out about their grievances.
I'll get you, bro. It's okay. I understand.
And wishes for the future in a 6-block area of Seattle they now occupy.
I would love to see the Seattle Police Department be turned into a youth center.
President Trump tweeted for Washington's governor and the city's mayor to take back their city. Seattle's police chief says it wasn't her choice to abandon a precinct in the area.
Leaving the precinct was not my decision. Ultimately, the city had other plans for the building and relented to severe public pressure.
Across the country, protesters angry about the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis police custody have funneled their fury in different ways, including the removal of Confederate and other controversial statues.
The NYPD is standing guard at New York City's statue of Christopher Columbus at Columbus Circle, making sure it stays safe. Governor Andrew Cuomo says he supports the statue.
I understand the feelings about Christopher Columbus and some of his acts, which nobody would support. But the statue has come to represent and signify appreciation for the Italian-American contribution to New York.
In Boston, a granite pedestal is empty where a Columbus statue used to stand. It was removed after it was beheaded earlier this week. Those viewing it have mixed feelings.
We can't erase all our history. If we don't learn from the past, we can't move forward.
He did not treat people properly, and I understand people's frustration with him.
Italian-American groups will hold a rally Sunday to support the return of the statue. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
As more Black Lives Matter protests continue this weekend across the United States, organizers are planning a massive march on Washington, D.C. in August for criminal justice reform. Well, the vice president listened to heartfelt personal stories from African-American leaders on race and justice disparities today at a Pennsylvania church. Meanwhile, local officials in some cities have already begun to enact reforms. Congressional Democrats introduced their police reform bill earlier this week, and Senate Republicans are expected to unveil their proposal early next week. President Trump says he is preparing executive action on police reform.
We're working to finalize an executive order that will encourage police departments nationwide to meet the most current professional standards of force. And that means force, but force with compassion.
Now, President Trump is spending the weekend at his golf club in New Jersey. Tomorrow, he will deliver the commencement address to West Point graduates. Well, the Republicans are going to Jacksonville, Florida. After a search for a second site for a convention party, President Trump wants to accept the formal nomination in his home state. WYMT's Washington Bureau Chief Jacqueline Policastro talks one-on-one with the RNC chairwoman about the new plans.
Why did you choose Jacksonville?
Well, Florida is the president's home state, and obviously it's a battleground state. We're right on that Georgia border.
But the business of the convention will still take place in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where 6 delegates from each state and territory will meet.
We will nominate the president and the vice president in Charlotte, and then we will move to Jacksonville to have the celebration where the president and the vice president accept those nominations in their speeches.
The Florida Democratic Party is responding. The chairwoman saying she's deeply concerned that Republicans are moving the event to Florida because the president wants to give a speech to a crowd of people, not social distancing. Florida is currently in phase 2 of its recovery plan. But even in phase 3, the guidance states people should minimize time spent in crowded places. So how is this big celebration going to be possible?
You know, we've seen a lot of political speech recently, peaceful protests that we all support, obviously, with the devastating death of George Floyd, thousands of people coming together to gather for political speech and change. And this is going to be another opportunity for our party to come together and nominate our president.
McDaniel tells me there will be COVID-19 testing, temperature checks, and sanitation throughout the festivities. Protesters have taken to the streets of Jacksonville the past few weeks, and its Republican mayor is removing Confederate statues in the city. McDaniel tells me there will be space set aside in Jacksonville for peaceful protests during the convention celebration. In the Washington News Bureau, I'm Jacqueline Policastro.
All right, we're having some technical difficulties with Paige. We hope to be able to get her back in just a few. So let's move on. The CDC released guidelines Friday about how to reduce the spread of coronavirus. They come as at least 19 states have seen an increase in daily new cases over the past 2 weeks. Nancy Chen reports from New York.
Citing an increase in COVID-19 cases in both rural and urban communities, Oregon's governor announced Friday a 1-week statewide pause on the reopening process.
As I've said a zillion times, the virus makes the timelines. We don't make the timelines.
Arizona has seen its average daily cases nearly triple over the last 2 weeks. But Arizona's governor said Thursday he is not considering another statewide stay-at-home order.
We put the stay-at-home order there so we could prepare for what we are going through right now.
Arizona is one of at least 14 states where current hospitalizations have increased since Memorial Day. In Arkansas, hospitalizations have risen by more than 88% during the same period.
We are still in the pandemic. We are not behind us.
The CDC Friday issued long-awaited tips about reducing the risk of infection for Americans as they resume daily life. Among them, take the stairs, not the elevator when possible. Encourage guests to bring their own food and drinks to a cookout, and no high fives or even elbow bumps at the gym.
The guidelines also repeat earlier advice about wearing face masks if you can't keep 6 feet apart.
We need to behave differently, and wearing a mask is different. It's not in our DNA to focus on others, but we need to.
The CDC says the closer the interaction and the longer it lasts, the higher the risk. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
A new University of Washington model often cited by the White House is projecting nearly 170,000 COVID-19 deaths by the 1st of October.
I apologize for the technical difficulties. Sometimes the microphone doesn't want to work too well here at home. But like I was trying to say, we've seen that nicer weather continue into today, and we're going to see it continue heading into the weekend. We'll go ahead and take you up to some of those cameras as we look at along US 119, US 23 and Jenkins. Plenty of sunshine today. It's been just another gorgeous day here in the mountains. And as we look over into Whitesburg, 78 degrees, a few clouds here and there, but other than that, it's looking pretty perfect. Feeling like 78 out there as well. Not having to deal with that humidity like we were the past couple of days. It is on the warmer side though out there, lower 80s for a lot of us, 82 in Prestonsburg and down into London and Williamsburg. A little bit cooler over in Wise though at 75 degrees. Now for tonight, we'll see temperatures drop into about the upper 50s to lower 60s, mostly clear skies. Could possibly see a little bit of that patchy fog late tonight, early heading into your Saturday, but we are going to continue to see that sunshine as we head into the weekend. We'll also kind of see that cooler temperature trend continue. Stray rain chances are possible, but we should remain mostly on the dry side. I'll have a look at that full weekend forecast coming up in a little bit.
All righty, Paige, we'll be back with you. Thank you. Glad to be able to hear that you're not under a waterfall anymore. Well, people from UK's health colleges gathered today to show their support in the fight for racial equality. The faculty, staff, and students from UK health colleges gathered in solidarity against racial injustice, especially in healthcare. Members from UK's colleges of medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, nursing, health sciences, public health, and social work all got on one knee in remembrance of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, a show of support to end the systematic racism.
We must commit our time, our effort, and our resources to combating the unjust health disparities that cause preventable deaths of people of color.
Leaders say it is going to take more than just addressing the issue, but taking action. Well, while Major League Baseball and other leagues in the United States remain suspended due to the coronavirus pandemic, a player with Eastern Kentucky ties remains in action. Former Kentucky pitcher Logan Darnell, selected in the 2010 MLB draft, is playing overseas in the Chinese Professional Baseball League for the UNI President Lions. Sports reporter Tommy Poole tells his story.
In his major league debut.
I wasn't expecting to play. I was kind of like everybody else right now, just sitting at home waiting. I met a guy a couple years ago that kind of was like a scout, and he kind of got you jobs if you needed here and there, and he just kind of like sent me a message and asked me if I was interested, and I was like, sure, I'm interested.
Logan Darnell and his teammates.
And I just figured, you know what, I'll never probably get another opportunity to go play on the other side of the world. The whole getting my work visa and traveling was kind of difficult. I had to drive an hour and a half to Buffalo to get a flight to New York, and then I had to wait all day because there was one flight to Taiwan. Over here in Taiwan, it's been 60 days since there's been a new case. At the beginning, 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was 0 fans. They kind of migrated into, you could have 2,000 fans, but you had to social distance. And then this last week was the first week where pretty much the whole stadium can be filled. The game's been great. It's a lot different than baseball in the States in general, as far as, you know, how they play the game, how the hitters play the game. Obviously, the game never changes. It's a simple game. The balls are harder and juiced a little bit, and the defenses, they take more pride in their hitting. You have to adapt as a player anyways. It's been a blessing since I can play right now, and not a lot of guys have certainty and don't know what they're doing, and I'm able to play.
Now, Darnell is signed through the rest of the season, but he expects to return home to Rochester this upcoming months as he and his wife expect their first child. Well, coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, find out easier ways to get your groceries brought to you and score free deliveries in today's Watching Your Wallet.
And more sunshine's in store for the weekend. Could see a stray rain chance or two. I'll have those details coming up.